What is this? I cannot believe what I'm seeing. After decades of lying, after decades of shamelessly promoting propaganda at the Cemetery News Network, did I just see Donnie Lemon telling the truth? Don Lemon telling the truth. I was not the only one surprised by Donnie and his unfamiliar honesty. Little Red Riding Hood, not to be confused with Big Red, the Yenta with the supersized dome on The View. Little Red Riding Hood, the potential wife of Master Shredder Oroku Saki, Jen Psaki. She was shocked by honest Donnie too. I am surprised her symptoms of stage 4 OMB or bad. I am surprised Jen Psaki's symptoms didn't cause her to end this segment immediately. MSNBC, they are rather liberal with what they allow on their network. The Wicked Weave Joy Reid and her endless stories of mythical racism, that is allowed. Stories of bravery and courage following the transition of Honest Abe into Bearded Babe, that is allowed. Magical illusions performed by Rachel Maddow where she disguises cackling Cam Harris as a serious candidate for president, that is allowed. There are many things that MSNBC will allow on their network, but in most cases, the one thing that is entirely off limits, the one thing that under damn near any circumstances is not allowed at MSNBC, the truth. I guess the magnetism, I guess the unmatched charisma and star power of Don Lemon, it convinced MSNBC to make an exception here. Either that or they were drunk off Don's special lemonade, because last night, MSNBC allowed the truth on their network uninterrupted, and it came from the most unlikely source, Don Lemon. If you haven't already, make sure to like and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter at KC_BTL84. Last night, Jen Psaki, she invited Donnie on her show to discuss the presidential election. Over the past couple of weeks, Donnie, he has been touring the country. He's had plenty of time to do this since, he doesn't have a job. Donnie traveled to Philadelphia where he played with the ball on the Liberty Bell. He traveled to Pittsburgh where he visited the facilities of Johnson & Johnson and he saw how they produce Preparation H. He stopped in Atlantic City to catch a special performance at Club Shay Shay featuring the dancing queen Jackie Mahomes. But along the way, Donnie stopped in every city to speak with hundreds of potential voters. Working in the mainstream media as long as Don Lemon did, I would imagine that you become out of touch with normal people. So Donnie, he took time out of his vacation to speak with the people. He wanted to know their thoughts on Cam Harris. He wanted to know what they thought about his namesake, Donnie Trump. If I had to guess, I would assume that Don Lemon went into this thinking normal people were going to echo his own personal beliefs. Unfortunately for Donnie, the results were the complete opposite. Listen to his response as he relays what normal people had to say about Cam Harris. Roll the film.
For the most part, in Pittsburgh or at the Jersey Shore and in Atlantic City, in Ohio especially, many people did not know who she was, right? They weren't familiar with her. So I think she has to reintroduce herself to the public. But for him, I think that they thought that he's better for the economy. And that, again, that he gave them, that he brought money into the community and or that he was on black people's side.
They didn't even know who she was. I would assume that's a direct result of John Biden hiding Cam Harris for the last 3.5 years. Hell, the only thing John Biden has done well during his presidency is hide Cam Harris from the public. Me personally, I could not stand Mike Spence, the doofus Trump selected as vice president during his first term. I think Mike Spence is an elitist. I think he's fake. I didn't like how he immediately turned on the Trumper as soon as they lost the election. Trump, he would have been better off selecting an emotional support moose for vice president than selecting Mike Spence. But the one thing I will give Mike Spence credit for, He did not hide. He wasn't afraid to speak publicly. He wasn't afraid to take questions from the media. Cam Harris has been campaigning for over a month now. She's been speaking to half-empty arenas. She has traveled to nursing homes, speaking to crowds that were counted by the dozens. But the one thing that Cam Harris has failed to do in the last 4 or 5 weeks, she has failed to speak directly to the media. Is it any wonder why some people have no idea who in the hell she is? Since it was announced that Cam Harris was running, the mainstream media, they have tried to convince us that she is beating the Trumper in the polls. Throughout the week last week, deacons at Woke United Methodist, they were all over social media bragging about the DNC beating the RNC in the ratings. We are so back! America is embracing democracy! We dominated the Trumper in the ratings! Grab the cucumber, grab the woke wiener, let's eliminate fossil fuels and make the earth greener. As you guys know, normally I am all about television ratings, but this is one of those rare instances where I don't think the ratings tell the whole story. I would expect ratings to be higher for the DNC. Why? Because most networks on linear television, they are catering to Woke United Methodist. Conservatives, they've got one network, Fox News. Nowadays, it seems like most conservatives, they are getting their news from people on YouTube. The vast majority of networks, they are catering to the far left. So it only makes sense that ratings for the DNC, when combined across every woke network, they were higher than the RNC. Since Commander Cam was nominated without receiving a single vote, the mainstream media, they have tried to convince us that she is dominating Trump in the polls. I have been telling you guys for weeks, I ain't buying it. Apparently, I'm not the only one, because Don Lemon, he's not biting into that shit sandwich either. Last night, Donnie told Little Red that he was not sure that all these polls were accurate. What was even more concerning to Donnie was the demos supporting the Trumper. I heard an interesting analogy the other day. The Democratic Party, it's the party of feelings. It's the party of emotion, which is why it appeals to women. While the Republican Party, it's the party of logic and reason. It's the party of business, money, which is why it normally appeals to dudes. The problem for Cam Harris, the Trumper, he seems to be appealing to everyone. Watch for yourself.
It was certainly eye-opening to hear so many people, even people of color and women, saying that they are going to support Donald Trump. I'm not quite sure that the polls are accurate as it relates to the tightening of the polls and who's going to support whom. But there were a lot of black men, Jen, who said that they were supporting Donald Trump simply because he gave them a stimulus check. He gave them $1,200 back when he was president. They did not somehow remember that the current president also gave them a stimulus check.
Now, according to Don Lemon, not only are women supporting the Trumper, minorities are supporting him too. Well, KC, I don't believe this. Trump has lost all momentum and Cam Harris is amazing. She was brilliant at the convention. She might not be the best, but she has great moments sometimes. Great moments sometimes. You know, sometimes my youngest Yorkie Oreo, she's only about a year old. Dogs her age, they eat everything. Sometimes she will eat some of my wife's hair that's fallen off the floor. When she eventually makes a doodle, the doodle gets stuck hanging by the hair and Oreo looks like she is fishing for flies. Sometimes these big tech companies like Facebook, they will release a letter like Mark Zuckerberg did yesterday, where they appear to be contrite about stifling free speech, where they appear to be almost trustworthy. Sometimes you might let your guard down and temporarily trust Facebook. Sometimes. But then you look at the list of people you trust, and human AI like Mark Zuckerberg, they ain't on the list. There are a lot of things that happen sometimes. Sometimes Derek Carr looks like an elite quarterback in the NFL. Sometimes a dump diver in the WNBA actually makes a layup. But just because it happens sometimes, it doesn't change the fact that it's an illusion. It might look like Oreo is fishing for flies, but she's just got a piece of hair in her digestive tract. It might look like dump divers in the WNBA or professional basketball players, but they just got lucky and actually made a layup. And sometimes it might look like Cam Harris is winning this race. It might look like Cam Harris is a great public speaker, when the reality is she is reading a script off a teleprompter that was probably prepared by someone else. I don't want a president that appears to be competent sometimes. I don't want a president who appears to know what they're doing sometimes. I want a president who is competent at all times. Don Lemon claimed that black people are voting for Donald Trump because he gave them $1,200 3 years ago. Wow. I can't think of anything more insulting. You really expect me to believe Donald Trump is winning over black voters because he gave them $1,200? Really? If that were the case, Trump shouldn't have a chance to win minority voters because Democrats, they have been giving them money for decades. The reason the Trumper is winning over black voters, it's the same reason that he is winning over females, and it's the same reason that he is winning over white liberals. This country is divided on a lot of issues and always will be. We are always going to be divided on abortion. We are always going to be divided on social issues. Employees, they will always see things differently than employers. None of that will change, but there's one issue that usually unites everyone: money, inflation. Doesn't matter if you're making 6 figures or you're making 50 grand a year. No one wants to overpay for groceries. No one wants to pay $60,000 for a 4Runner that cost $40,000 just a few years ago. During the segment with Jen Psaki, Don Lemon, he mentioned the economy being great under Johnny B. Biden, but no one perceives it that way because inflation is so high. And maybe that's true. Maybe that's true. Maybe the economy is doing well, but who caused the inflation? When the Trumper left office, pretty sure inflation was around 2%. 12 months later, it was damn near double digits. This report from Don Lemon, it should be concerning for Cam Harris. If you believe Donnie, there's a lot of people in this country who have no idea who Cam Harris is. And it's her own fault because she spent the last 3.5 years hiding from him. Give me your thoughts on this. Don Lemon destroys the woke media narrative that Cam Harris is leading the polls. Donnie claims that women and minority voters are voting for Trump. Now, I watched that segment several times this afternoon. Not one time did Jen Psaki dispute what Donnie was saying. So, are the polls wrong? Outside of Rasmussen, most polls have Cam Harris ahead. Is that an illusion like the rest of her campaign? Let me know. Sound off in the comments below. Like, subscribe, share the video. Appreciate your support. Best way to contact me is by email at btlkc84@gmail.com, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.